Hi guys, and welcome to another Brown Car Guy and Buddies, and today I'm going to be talking to a good friend of mine, Abdulla Jaafari, and he's been doing automotive media content for just over a decade now. Very talented young man, moved from Jordan to Dubai where I got to know him, and I was always impressed with his hard work and his dedication to everything that he did. So it's going to be great to catch up with him and see how he's been getting on. Before we do that, make sure that you subscribe to this channel, which is youtube.com/Brown Car Guy. Make sure you follow me on all of my social media channels. Just search for hashtag Brown Car Guy. You can see it there on my hat. That's on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. And of course, subscribe to browncarguy.com, which you can see on the screen there behind me. In fact, I think that image is going to come up in conversation. So let's get into this. I can't wait to catch up with him. Hope you enjoy this. Hey Abdullah, how you doing? My God, it's been ages, hasn't it?
Yeah, man, it's been a few years, huh?
Yeah, year and a half. Yeah, actually, just been over a year and a half since I've been back.
Almost
Yeah,
a year and a half.
yeah. And how's it going for you? How's lockdown been and all the rest of it?
Lockdown was crazy, man. That's the first 2 months, nobody had a clue of what's going on, of what to do, or what can we do, like how can we make things better, or how we can fill our times. Some people exercised, some people finished Netflix, some people bought a new PlayStation, which in my case actually worked quite well. But yeah, man, the past 2 months though, things have been different. Actually opening up in the UAE, in Dubai specifically, it's been more free, so we can get to move around.
Yeah.
The car scene is picking up, which is good for me personally.
Yeah, of course.
But yeah, things are good. How are things on your end?
Yeah, we're kind of out of lockdown. We're sort of post-lockdown-ish. But what's happening in Europe now is every now and then it's sort of flaring up. So you just never know when that might happen. Certain cities in the UK, like Leicester, for example, is under lockdown again. So God forbid. But anyway, hopefully we're on the right route now and things will improve. Anyway, I forgot to say Eid Mubarak because, of course, it's Eid. So
thank you. Yes, exactly. Yeah, today is Sawafat Arafat, tomorrw Eid. So Eid Mubarak to you and your family.
Thank you, and to you and yours. Yeah, so cool, man.
Thank you.
I'll tell you what, I was trying to figure out when we got to, I think we met at a drift event, didn't we? I'm pretty sure. Maybe the Yas Marina one.
Probably, I believe we did. It's probably one of the Drift UAE events, which were one of the earlier events.
Yeah. So, I mean, so you're from Jordan originally, and you kind of created this career for yourself, didn't you? I mean, you started off, what was it? What was your little channel that you had before?
I had a website called Ammani V12. I'm from Amman. Yeah, and it's a funny story how the name came up. I'm from Amman, basically. I couldn't find another name, but then I was a big fan of the Nissan GTR back then.
Oh yeah.
I was like, okay.
Well, you still are, surely. What do you mean back then? Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yeah, some things have changed. Look, the GTR will always be there for me, but then, like in recent modern days, it's a bit, I can't really fight the arguments anymore.
Oh, you've been lured away by other cars, I can see. That's what's going on.
Yeah, actually, maybe we'll get to that point in a bit, but then, before when the GTR came out and it was killing everyone. It was called the supercar killer because it was priced great and the performance was great and everything. It was like a pure Japanese street racer tuner, etc. But now I can't really argue anyone. Whoever comes to me, they're like, Porsche Turbo. I can't really say anything because Porsches are quicker. And
we deviated a little bit, but just to complete that, your thought on the GTR first. I mean, I've always struggled with the GTR. I've always struggled with this generation GTR, because I've always loved the previous ones. I've really enjoyed driving them. But the current one, I remember the first time I drove it, and I drove it on, you'll know the route, all the way up to Kalba on that very fast road, the Kalba road. And I think I probably have never gone faster on that road than I did in the GTR. And at the end of it, I handed the keys to my colleague and he said, "Don't you want to drive it back?" I said, "No." Because if I drive it back, I might go quicker. And if I go quicker, something might go wrong. You know what I mean? It's like something bad might happen. Because the GTR to me was one of those cars that was stupendously quick, and you could travel at extreme velocity in it with
and you can push it even more with every run.
You could push it even more. But to me, because I like the analog feel of a car, I couldn't tell where the limit was. Do you know what I mean? I couldn't tell.
True.
Like, how far could I actually go before I die? You know. so to me, I'm like, yeah, exactly. So anyway, so that's the GTR in a nutshell. But it's still an amazing, awesome machine. But going back to Armani V12, and you were going to say about how that came about.
So basically, at the beginning, I was still in university. I was a big fan of cars. It started by actually me just going around on the road and finding like cool cars, taking pictures, and just sharing them on Facebook.
So hang on. So where did the car thing come from? Was that your father, or was that something in the family?
Actually, no. I would say it came from video games.
Oh, really?
And then my brother actually. My brother was always a big car guy. And I kind of developed the love for cars from there. But then I just started liking cars overall. But then video games are what introduced me to the car world, the car industry. And that was the first time I knew about the car called GTR, the Skyline, the R34, the previous generation.
Right.
And that's where it started.
So I'm assuming your favorite video games were like Gran Turismo and stuff like that, was it?
It was Need for Speed and Gran Turismo at the beginning, yes.
Yeah, I can imagine,
Yeah, definitely.
So and when you started to get into cars, and, you know, again, let's try and create a picture for people that may not be familiar with that part of the world. I mean, and you're in Amman and you're growing up as a kid. I mean, what's there for you in terms of car culture, car scene, magazines, etc., etc.?
So in Jordan, let's speak back in the day when I was still in Jordan. The car scene was like a street scene, mostly a street scene. We were not familiar with supercars or really high performance hypercars, etc. They were like mostly road cars that are capable, that can be fun if modified or tuned. And I would say like Jordan started from a not so rich community in terms of the car scene. Yeah. There was a segment of people who actually were able to afford these cars and then kept them, but then they were kept always stock, and you didn't really see them being pushed around because in Jordan cars are a lot more expensive than anywhere else. So let's say I would really compare the street scene of Jordan to Ireland. Because we are on the same level. They both have like a really big passion for cars. And they would work on their cars as much as they can with their limited resources and the parts that they could to get it to make it for themselves. So I would say,
for example, what kind of cars would you aspire to if you were growing up a kid and you wanted to get into something cool in Jordan? What kind of cars would you be looking at?
BMWs. Jordan is the place for BMWs. The higher end models like the M3s, etc. They were out of reach. We couldn't reach them because they were too expensive, and if they were in the country, it would be limited. So it would start with the, let's say the E30 was such a great car. A lot of people love it. Not the M3, but then the E30 overall, because you can modify it, you can change so many parts easily in Jordan and fabricate all these things. The E36 and the E46, and it carried on. So BMW actually has a big segment of people in Jordan, has a big fan base. And then you still have the other competition, which are Japanese cars. So like the Hashirokus, the AE86. There were actually quite a few in Jordan. You could see a handful of them. Because they were rear-wheel drive, small size. It's a Toyota. Toyota is generally known for being a very reliable car. So that, and then the Toyota Carina, Cressida, all these cars. Nissan did have some part of it, but then these were the main ones. And of course, and then we had the rivalry of the Subaru Impreza STI and the Evo. Of course, so these cars are the cars that you always see in Jordan, like you used to see in Jordan back in the day. And the people who own them are like so passionate about them. And everybody was like a representative for the brand. So they would fight and they would argue, they would race.
That whole tribalism thing, absolutely.
Exactly, yeah.
But so I mean, has it moved on from that now, or is it still E30s and things like that?
No, well, look, that remained, so it's still there. So if you go to Jordan, you would still see the modified Imprezas, but then everything has gone a step higher into like a higher caliber. So the modifications have gone more and more and more to another level. but then
so what sort of events are these? I mean, do they have events? Or do they have? Is it like a street racing and drifting? And of course, you came from the drift culture, so is that something that's prominent there?
Yeah, when things were less strict in Jordan, there were less, let's say, surveillance. People used to do a lot of street racing, street drifting in the evenings. And funnily enough, Ramadan was the month to look forward to, because every time Ramadan comes, just before the Adhan, Maghrib prayer, when we break our fast, the streets are empty. The police are not bothered to actually run after anyone.
Of course,
So everybody would just go around and drift and have like drift things. So if you go on YouTube, you'll find like the Amman drift project. It's a roundabout, like a civilian roundabout. Lots of cars drifting around, people parked on the side, just like Fast and the Furious. Exact same. And they would run away from the police, of course. But yeah, nowadays.
So that's literally donuts for iftar. That's what that is.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Nowadays it's more complicated. But then the last time I was in Jordan, we were able to actually do some street drifting stuff. And the funny part is, the people who were going to drift, they were actually so passionate about it. They were organizing things. So we would spread the message out just a few hours before. We're going to this area, this corner, etc. You'll have people actually maintaining distance, keeping like safe places, and they would stand on the side. And you have one, like we have in our events, you have media. We actually had media for street racing. So people used to come and do coverage, wearing vests, and we'd keep them on the side.
So this is like
official, unofficial.
This is like the max power of Jordan. That's what we're talking about, right?
Something like that, yeah. It was quite fun. It's such great days. And
but you know, like you said, it's all street level racing, and obviously street affordable cars and stuff. But in some sense, it comes from the top down, isn't it? Because royalty there is really big into cars, right?
Oh yeah, 100%. So the scene I was telling you about is the street scene, because those are the people who can't really afford going to the higher levels. But on the other end, Jordan is super rich when it comes to motorsports. It was always Jordan, Syria, and Lebanon. They would have a big rivalry as well, and big partnerships and friendships. They were battling each other for fun, for the fun of it, and not just to like to break the other guy's number just because they want to break it.
I mean, there's not exactly big money in motorsports there, is it? So literally, it is for fun, it's for passion, isn't it?
Yeah, 100%. So we have one of the biggest races in Jordan. It's called Tel Al Rumman, which is Al Rumman Hill Climb. It is it's devoted for the King Hussein, his late King Hussein, may he rest in peace. Basically, him and his son actually used to go to Tel Al Rumman. King Hussein used to actually compete in Tel Al Rumman with his own car, personal car. Actually, at one point, Mohammed bin Sulaim actually gifted King Hussein a car for the next Tel Al Rumman, which was a Ford Escort Cosworth.
Right.
And they actually had
I think I've seen a picture of that. Yeah. I think I've seen a picture of that.
And he was big into motorsports. So he raced in the 190 Evo. He raced in a BMW E30 M3. He raced in a Lotus Esprit.
Oh man, I've seen a picture of that.
Yeah, he took actually all these cars on Tel Al Rumman, and he was competitive, like super competitive. And on his free time, he would actually go karting. Which is fun as well. So we have that official motorsports. The Motorsports Federation in Jordan. It's been going on a roller coaster. Sometimes it's doing well, sometimes it's not doing well. But then Jordan was able to actually gather a lot of drifting enthusiasts. Because let's say drifting, they use a road car. They don't need to really go into like a rally car spec or a hill climb spec. Back in the day, not much power is needed. Around 300 horsepower would be enough. So drifting was a big thing in Jordan. We developed a lot of drifting racing drivers from the street who actually went into competition.
Well, one of the champions of the entire region, and who's actually a good buddy of yours, isn't he? And I know him as well, is Ahmad Daham, isn't he? And an incredible talent.
Exactly. So Ahmed actually used to race with time attack races back in the day, like when he was 16 even. Because he was supported by his brother. They had a car, they had a hatch, I think was a Mark II or Mark I Golf. Which he used to race with. And time attack is a big thing as well in Jordan. So it's cool because we have all these disciplines. We have the time attack racing, we have drifting, and we have the hill climb, rally. And we actually had groups of people who would go in each direction. So all of them were full and the whole time. So we have all 4 disciplines actually active, which is quite great. And
is there crossover? Are people doing multiple disciplines, or people just sticking to the thing?
Yeah. Actually, no. I've seen there has been some names which have been crossing over these disciplines in different ones. Ahmad Daham is one of them. He did not start with drifting. He started with time attack races, autocross, etc. And then he did actually try rally at some point, and he did race out with the Subaru Impreza, I think, STI back in the day. And then he went to drifting, where he started with the famous E30 M3, which has a 1JZ engine back in the day. And that's where he kicked off, basically. So he did not start with drifting. It was actually developed from racing. And yeah.
That's incredible. I mean, there's a lot to go into, isn't it? Just in Jordan as well. And you know, it's one of the things I regret. I have been to Jordan, and you might recognize that picture that you took of me behind.
Yes, of course. Yeah.
Which was a fantastic trip that we did with Ford across Jordan, which was absolutely brilliant. I might actually post that video up again. But is there a racetrack now? Are there official facilities in Jordan in terms of, you know, to do these things?
So it started with Tel Roman Hill Climb is always there, but then it's closed off for the event itself because it's a bit dangerous. It is a risky sprint race location.
So is it a public road, or it's just for that purpose?
It's just for that purpose.
Oh, right. Okay.
I believe it was a public road, and then it turned into that purpose of only Tel Roman. But then we also have racetracks. We have small karting tracks, but then we have a smart performance racetrack, which is in Madaba. That is the racetrack that actually, let's say, it gathered all the drifters and the time attack racers in there. So many drift events. It actually witnessed so many drift events. Later on, there has been a new racetrack which opened up just a few years ago. It's called Manja International Circuit. It's actually FIA certified for karting, and they've been doing actually really nice track days there. I did not see there was actually a drift event there before. There has been some drift nights, and it's mostly used for karting. But those are the 2 big tracks that are available in Jordan.
So moving on from this, I mean, it sounds like a really exciting time and really, you know, a period of genesis for motorsports in Jordan. And you being a big car fan and motorsports fan, but you left all that and you've now been in Dubai for what, 7 years you've been? So is that a decision you regret a little bit, or is this because you did say that you're living the dream life? So
it has been, it's been 7 years for me here. Yes. I moved here in 2013. So when I started my journey in Jordan was back in 2010. Actually, when I started Ammani V12, before I started Ammani V12, being a fan, I kept applying for magazines to work with in Jordan, but I kept being rejected every time by emails or phone calls, to a point where actually I went to the place and I put my CV in just for that job, but then it never happened. Later on, I started Ammani V12. And that did well for me because I was controlling my own content for the guys who use the internet. Back then, everybody was going for print. It was the print era, 2010. So I was able to gather my own fan base, the people who don't want to go to print. They just want to like scroll and see images or like read some text and writing. Continuing to do that actually led me to wanting more. And more was not available in Jordan, unfortunately. So, for an example, when we take a car to test in Jordan, you could actually grab it for only 4 hours.
Right.
So you would go to the showroom, you would go there, and sometimes you would actually have a person, like a salesman, with you in the car,
chaperoning
while you drive it.
Yeah.
So that kind of killed the whole joy of actually wanting to do things. Yeah, exactly. It limits what you want to do, and you can be creative. You'll be time limited. So that wanted me to just that actually pushed me to look for alternative solutions. And the goal was always Dubai for me, because I know it's where all the regional companies are, where all the cars are available. You can spot cars on the road more often, Mercedes, etc., etc. So I always had that goal in mind. Dubai. I'm going to Dubai. So before I had anything to do with Dubai.
So initially you were coming over to cover the drift events, weren't you? I mean, I think that's you used to come. You used to go back and forth, didn't you, before?
Yes. So after I finished university, I had no plans. I had nothing confirmed for Dubai. But then when everybody asked me, like, what are you going to do next? I was like, oh, I'm going to Dubai. And I was like super confident. I had no one in Dubai.
Right.
Like, where are you going? Oh, I'm going to Dubai. When? Soon, inshallah. Okay, cool. So I just had that aim, actually, to a point where I started doing coverage for drift events in Jordan. And I was actually approached by Red Bull for the first time.
Right.
And that time I had never pressed the button record, and they wanted me to do a video. I had no equipment, no experience, nothing. All I did was I had experience in watching videos, but not creating. And when they gave that, like they asked me to do a video, I just said yes. Like and then I hung up. I was like, what did I do? What am I gonna do? So I actually carried on. I just improvised. I couldn't afford equipment back in the day, so I actually went to the to like random shops, get a piece of wood, piece of PVC pipes, and I used to create my own equipment just for
God, like tripods and things, right? Oh my goodness.
I had nothing. I actually stole my dad's tripod, which he kept back from his photography days. But so growing up, like until I was 22, there was always a camera bag in my dad's closet, which he never used. I always just like fiddle with it.
What camera was it?
I forgot. It was a classic camera. It was film, but it was like classic camera.
Wasn't one of those twin lens ones like the one I've got that my dad used to have?
No, not twin lens, just like one lens. It's maybe a much more modern, but yeah. And he had like this silly tripod. I was like, okay, I stole it and I used it. It worked well. So after I did that, the result was actually good. And then people started asking me to do more videos for them in that same style. And that led me to actually getting a video job in Dubai. Yeah. So it was my first time ever flying to Dubai. Yeah. And I flew to Dubai and I did this video job. And I came back. And then I flew again to do another video job. And then I came back. And then that was when I got picked up by a local company in the UAE. Actually, I used to do guest contributions when I was back in Amman V12 for the Jordanian scene, crank and piston. Yeah. And that's when I moved to Dubai fully for crank and piston. I actually did not tell my parents that I was moving to Dubai.
Oh, really?
I only told them a week before.
Yeah. My goodness. Yeah. I'll give you a little bit of insight, honestly, because I think we had met whilst you were doing the back and forth, and I'd seen your work. I had seen your work. I was following you. And and not to just blow air up your ass, but I remember saying to Imtishan, I said, look, he's a really good talent. I think he's really, really good. I mean, the photography, the video, the way he picks it up and stuff. And more than that, and this is rare amongst people, to be honest, is the energy and the enthusiasm and the knowledge and the passion that you brought to stuff, And I was really impressed with you even back then, And I had said to Imti, I said, if we ever expand, a bit more and we need somebody additional, I'd said, if you ever see him, ask him, because I had said to him at the time, I said, I think this might be a guy to look at. Yeah. And then of course our rivals, because crank and piston were our rivals effectively at the time, and they picked you up, and I was like, damn, but it was good. It was great for you, though. It was a good move. It was a very good move.
Yep. It was my way out of Jordan, actually, because I just wanted something new. I wanted to develop. I wanted to do, I wanted to go for the next steps, and that was my way out, actually. So and I think the drift event that I met you was not. I don't think it was the Ice Marina. I think it was in Umm Al Quwain. Was Drift UAE. I think it was back in the cold days as well.
Could be. Yeah.
Back when Mohammed Falassi was actually doing Drift UAE events.
Yeah. Those good days, good fun times. So do you move?
I miss them, man.
Yeah, me too, man. Totally. And I miss Falassi. I think I sent him a message the other day. It would be great to get him on one of these, because it would be. I
saw him actually a couple of weeks ago for the first time in such a long time. Yeah. And it was like I felt like he just came from a long travel. I was like, man, I missed you, and we started talking, and it was and he's still the same person. He's one of the nicest guys that I've dealt with. He's super supportive, and he has passion for the drift community as well.
And again, one of those guys that honestly, like, he'll give 110%. Like when I've seen him organize events and stuff like that, I mean, he's not just doing it; he's hands-on. Everything. I mean, incredible guy. Yeah. If you see him next time, tell him that I'd love to get in touch with him, and
I will,
and maybe do one of these videos. So you moved to Dubai. So how was that for you? That dream come true? Was it everything that you'd hoped for?
Okay, so a bit of so when you first move to Dubai for a car guy, for people who are from Jordan moving to Dubai for a car guy, the biggest problem is the driving license. So that was the biggest slap in the face when I first moved to Dubai. We had all these cars, all the keys in my hand. At the time, I think it was my first two shoots. The first one was the brand new Q50S Infinity that just came out, Red Sport. I was like, I can't drive it, and it's just parked there. So that was one. The second one was a BMW 4. Back then it was 435, and a ZL1, because we had actually a price competition because they were priced the same.
Wow.
And I was just like, it was so painful because these cars are available and I can't drive any.
Oh, so, my God.
Because I had to get a license.
You had to go through the whole process?
Yes, the whole process. I had, I think, 30 or 45 lessons back then. Actually, no, sorry. In my case, it was 20 lessons because I was driving for 5 years. But then those 20 lessons also take so much time because of the tests and all these things. It was a nightmare. So the first 2-3 months, they were painful.
I think this is one of the things like sometimes we don't realize because we have it quite good being from the UK. For me, it was a case of just going down there and getting my license converted. It took about half an hour. So
like a breeze. Like a breeze, yeah.
Yeah. So when you got your license, what was the first cool car that you got hold of then?
That's a tough one. I cannot remember, but I think one of the first few cool cars that I was able to drive was an Aston Martin DB9.
Wow.
Black edition. Yeah, and that was mind-blowing.
Yeah.
Like I used to see these cars from the outside, and not drive them because they're not available in Jordan, of course.
Yeah.
And you don't see them often.
What must it be like? I mean, again, I'm gonna say it for a kid. I'm gonna say kid because you're still young. I'm gonna say for a kid from Jordan, to be dreaming about these cars and suddenly, right, here you go, here's the keys.
You don't believe it at the beginning, but then you'll be super extra cautious.
Yeah.
Because you don't want to be that idiot who crashed the car, who just moved. Especially that all eyes on you. Especially when you move to the scene and you're working in the scene, everybody in the scene will question you and be like, "Who's this guy and what is he doing?" If you do like a tiny problem, everybody will know. So I had to be extra cautious. It was great, man. I missed the first days. I feel like there was a bit more excitement. There is still excitement today on specific cars. But then there's still the excitement from before is going to be it's always going to be different.
Yeah. So what's been the highlights? I mean, you still do a lot of video content and photography content, don't you? I mean, what do you enjoy more?
I enjoy driving the most.
Yeah.
Sometimes because I started as a journalist who writes, and then I started taking pictures because back in Amman V12, my friend was taking pictures, and then I used to do the writing.
So you were doing writing before? Because I didn't see your. Was that in English or in Arabic?
English, yeah.
All right, cool.
So I started in writing, and it was always writing, and I had my friends support me with photography, and I used to do the driving and the writing. And then later on, I started needing to do content myself because my friend was not always available.
Yeah.
I managed to buy a camera. I started shooting, and then it just carried on shooting and writing, shooting and writing.
Yeah.
And that was what I was doing in Covering and Piston. I was just out there taking pictures and writing. Later on, I kind of wanted to be in front of the camera because I was always looking at content that maybe I just say to myself, I could do things differently. I would do things like that. And this. I was not comfortable at all at the beginning, of course. It was quite a difficult task. But then eventually you just work around it, and then you will be able to deliver your message the right way.
Yeah.
So I started doing that, started doing videos. So before photography, I was doing videography. But then later on, the focus became on photography to a point where I started doing commercial photography for brands for their press packages, billboards, etc.
And you say you self-taught photography? Did you get any training at any time, or it was just self-taught the whole way?
No, there was at one point only Well, my friend Estabrak was always there, where I was looking at him doing his photography.
Yeah.
And then there was Shawish and Jordan. May he rest in peace. Actually passed away just recently.
Sorry to hear that.
Yeah, may he rest in peace. And then he actually taught us more on what is shutter speed, what is ISO, what is aperture, all these things, like the technical stuff.
Yeah.
And that's when I learned more. But then everything else I just carried on by myself, and I learned how to do the lighting, etc., by watching other people doing it, or maybe YouTube videos, or just experimenting myself. And that's how it just led me to doing things, to a point where I got approached by Pininfarina globally to do a shoot for them in Dubai, or Pagani to actually shoot their own car here, which is mind-blowing. Like I never thought I would be able to do that.
Yeah. That's an incredible journey, from shooting street scene in Jordan to shooting for Pagani in Dubai.
Exactly. I was on that sidewalk with an E30, just drifting on the side, and now I'm like behind a Battista, shooting it across, like with the Dubai skyline background.
That's right. I've seen that picture. Yeah, really nice. Yeah. So what is it that you do now then? Who are you with now?
So after Crank and Piston, I stayed with them for 5 years in Awesome Group, and then I moved to WSF, which is a company that does online digital marketing and also production. And I took care of the automotive marketing, basically, side, and as well of photography and creative strategies for marketing campaigns for the automotive industry. So whenever we had an automotive client, I used to take care of them. I used to do a few other things as well, which got me to learn more. But automotive was always my focus. I still do my content on my own social media platform, which is my name on Instagram, Abdulla Jaafari.
We'll put all the links in the description below, and I'll put them on the screen as well.
Awesome, that'd be cool. So all of that content I do for myself, just like the content that I like. In terms of photos, videos, or whatever I can come up with. Stories, I always cover stories on the street when I see a cool car, or see like there's a new news piece that I would like to share.
You're frozen
here. I do it through my platform. So that is currently, that's my main focus, as well as photography for cars, commercially or socially, editorially, etc. WSF.
And what do you think the scene is like in terms of, the media at the moment? Because I know the media at the moment is kind of struggling in that region. Well, everywhere actually, even here, but it's certainly over there as well. And certainly you were always a new media type, and kudos to you. You always wanted to embrace the new way forward. How do you think it's going to develop? How do you think it's going to pan out?
Well, I came in the era where it was between print and digital.
Yeah.
And then everything transitioned to digital. I know a lot of people are struggling. I know a lot of people have closed down and shut down their own platforms, whether digital or print, especially print. Print is dead, unfortunately. I've always had I like the feel of print, or the magazine, or the shininess of the pages, etc. But then, unfortunately, that doesn't really pay the bills, and it's costly. And the world is moving into more of a, let's say, less production kind of world, less paper, less things to throw away, all these things. So digital is still dominant, but then the development now is going inside of the digital world, whether it's creating a website. Websites are now, they're not getting so much traction. Everything's moving to social media, but now you have so many platforms on social media. So it's like print, digital, websites, and then platforms. And then each platform, some platforms are dying, for example. Now the most upcoming platform, which is TikTok. I'm not really a big fan of TikTok because of the content that you see there, but then it is upcoming. So, for example, the content that you post, for example, on YouTube. I got emotional about one thing, and I was like, okay, I had enough. I'm gonna do something that I want. And I went against the automotive, basically PR, marketing, etc. I had a Toyota Land Cruiser, which is a big car in the UAE.
Of course. It's an icon.
Yeah, exactly. And at that time, the G4x4 Square from Mercedes came out.
Oh, cool.
And they had a demo car in their region. So they make no sense. But then people are actually going for entertainment rather than which car should I buy? Although maybe in some other places they were like, oh, I have 1 million, 2, 3, 5 million dirhams, I'll buy it any car.
Yeah.
And I tried to get my hands on a Nissan, but none of the people were actually okay with the idea of me doing this.
Right.
So I phoned one guy. We had a Nissan Patrol. I went to the desert in the morning. Just a very quick video.
Yeah.
We had the G4x4 Square, the Nissan Patrol, and a Land Cruiser.
Yeah.
And we did an uphill drag race up the dune, which is something that people relate to here. Cars that people relate to here.
Yeah.
And something that is new and it's entertaining. And that was my first video, which I made, I think, a few million views off of it, like fully organic, and that was surprising.
Yeah.
So the target of the automotive industry and media, sometimes people do the obvious, but then I think people should do the unexpected.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
And that's what will actually drive you to go forward and find new ventures, especially when creating content.
Yeah.
Do you think meanwhile,
yeah. Go on. Finish the thought.
Sorry. Meanwhile, you will do a review for a car.
Yeah.
For a 7-seater or a 5-seater SUV, and you put it on YouTube, and it will get 2,000 views, 3,000 views, maybe 20 if you had a big followership.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's the kind of content.
Yeah, it's tricky. So going forward, do you think that there's still scope for new people coming into this arena? There's still a lot of young people. I'm sure they message you. They certainly message me about how they can get into it. Do you think there's still opportunities and scope for people to do this sort of content?
Actually, I was one of the people that messaged you at the beginning, and I asked you on advice on how to actually get to move forward with this. And
I hope I didn't discourage you too much.
Look, the automotive industry is not easy. People think they could just create a platform, start taking pictures, and then they would get in there. But it's not that. That business, it's a business, and it's a whole lifestyle as well. Yeah. It's not easy. Yeah. Some people do approach me and ask me, how can I get into this? How can I start my own platform? You can. Everyone can. Anyone can just go and create a content, an account on any platform and start creating content. But then it is what drives this content. If you actually put a lot of effort and hard time into it, hard work into it, you will get somewhere. Is there room for new people to come in? Always. And actually that worries me, because I feel like I'm growing older into the generation that I was pointing at, or like, these are older people, they're gonna stick in their own papers on Word, on paper, whatever, and I'm gonna come up with a digital thing. But now you have a newer, younger generation. And the thing is, you need to go where the audience is. And who is the biggest internet consumer of all time now? It's the younger generation.
That's right.
They don't want to see an older person doing the old ways. That's why we need to cope into going into theirs. And being entertaining. But that's one thing that I would always fight, and I will always fight for. I will never create silly content. I will always want to be informative. I would always want to educate people about things. I don't want to be silly. Let's destroy these tires in 10 seconds.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fun and entertaining, but I also want to make it informative and educating. Because later on, when I grow up, I don't want to feel like I actually made a difference, or actually I taught someone something. So yeah.
No, man, cool. We've run out the clock again. We've gone well over the 30 minutes that I normally try and do these. But
it's been 30 minutes.
It's been 37 minutes, actually.
Oh, wow.
But that's what happens with these things. It's always great to catch up with people. And I think there was a lot of great advice and information in there. And you're quite right. My only concern is you're saying you're feeling old. I mean, my God, I must be like a veteran or something. I mean, dude,
you're coping.
I'm still making content.
You're coping. No, but see what you're doing. You are coping with what people want to see these days. Online content, etc. Podcasts are big, so you are coping. So we need to try and cope.
That's it. Yeah, no, we need to constantly evolve and constantly adapt. And to be honest, I follow, like I said to you before, I followed your career. I think you are a great talent, and I think you've done some amazing work. And I keep wishing you all the best, and keep wishing you all strength to keep going forward. Thanks so much for taking the time to do this. And it was wonderful to catch up with you. And hopefully we'll do this again soon.
Definitely. Thank you, man, for having me on the show as well.
Wow, that was incredible. What an insight into one young man's journey from covering street racing in Amman to photographing one of the world's most exotic supercars in Dubai. Isn't that an incredible thing? Quite an inspiring story, I think, there. So that was absolutely fascinating. I hope you enjoyed that. Make sure that you subscribe to youtube.com/browncarguy for more of these videos. In fact, go back to the playlist that I have on there, Brown Car Guy and Buddies, and you'll find lots of these conversations, interviews and discussions like this. Really, really fascinating stuff. Great bunch of people. I am so privileged to know all these incredible personalities around the world, in fact. Also, of course, make sure that you follow me on all the socials. Just search for #BrownCarGuy, as you see on my hat there. That's on Twitter, Instagram and Facebook. And of course, subscribe to browncarguy.com. If you enjoy my content and you enjoy these videos, then perhaps you can support me on patreon.com/Shazad Sheikh, and there you can also get some goodies like, for example, this hat and some free content as well, some exclusive content on there. I hope you enjoy that. Even if you can't do that, please continue to like, comment, share, subscribe, all the rest of it. That is so much appreciated. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll catch you again very soon on the next one.